Howdy, howdy. Welcome on into the pre-show before the free show. And it's hump day. We are halfway through this week, and it feels like hump day because I got coffee on my white sweater this morning. So happy Wednesday, everybody.
Pain.
Pain with a capital P.
Yeah, capital hard P there. And I guess, it makes it even worse because you were in all black yesterday.
Yeah, it couldn't. So I had the same coffee. I get the same coffee every morning. It's actually right here if you want to see it. I get it at a gas station, and it's a mocha, so it's brown.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, was wearing all black yesterday, probably the day before too. Didn't get spilled on, and of course the one day I wear a white sweater.
My mom always said that. She like I remember any time that I had any sort of an internship interview or a banquet or anything, she was like, do not wear white.
Yeah.
Do not wear white, because she was like, even if you don't eat anything before you get there, you will find a way to get something on yourself, because I've always had a terrible habit of spilling anything and everything.
For sure. So last night I saw the new Spider-Man movie.
Ah, yes.
It was, now I'm probably going to make some people mad with this, but I'm not a Marvel fan.
Okay.
Not a Marvel movie fan. I like them. I wouldn't say that I'm a fan, though.
Right.
I do like Tom Holland.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Zendaya.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'll go see
Let's
this
give it a
Spider-Man.
shot.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. Loved it.
So good.
Loved it with a capital L-O-V-E-D. It was so good. And I think the thing that I liked so much about it was that you could follow the storyline perfectly without really seeing the rest of the Spider-Mans, because there's, I don't know how many there are, but you've got the first original Spider-Man with Tobey, I don't remember his last name, Andrew Garfield, and now Tom Holland. So there's a bunch of them. But the thing I liked about this one was that you didn't have to see those to really understand what was going on, because they explained to you what has happened in the previous Spider-Man.
Okay, and see, that was my question for you, because one, I have not seen it yet, but I've heard nothing but really good reviews. And like you said, I like Tom Holland, love Zendaya, big Zendaya fan. And so it's kind of one of those things, I wanted to see it, but I feel like that's the thing that people get into with Marvel movies as to why they don't necessarily, like you said, you like them, you'll watch them, but the issue is it's definitely kind of one of those things where the more you know about it and the more you watch them in sequential order, the better it is for you.
Yeah.
And all those movies are so long too, man. You've got
that's the thing,
3-hour long movies, and it's I just don't have time, since I fell behind on watching them when they came out. I feel like I don't have time to sit there and crank them out in regular order, so I feel like I lose some of the luster with it.
Right.
So any of those movies that come out, I always enjoy Marvel movies when I watch them. Always do.
Right.
But I'm not at the theater when they come out ready to go, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And so I always like those movies that you can watch them and feel like you have just as good of a time as everyone else when you don't actually know every minute detail of the backstory.
And we also went to a studio movie grill.
So very nice.
We got some good food with it. And I really like to watch Marvel movies in a theater.
Yes. Oh, it makes
because it makes it so much better. You see Spider-Man swinging through New York City and doing his little thing, and
I'm cutting that.
And
we're making that a gift.
And it's cool to see that on the big screen. It's so cool.
I also feel like a big portion of, and this is the video director brain in me, of I was never super into the film. So let's go back to UNT talk here. The way that our broadcasting realm worked is you had the broadcast majors, and then you had the hardcore film people. And they are very, very different. You think that they might not be that different.
For sure.
Totally different. But a lot of my really good friends throughout college were hardcore film people. So when we hung out, I kind of got to learn that how they see movies through their eyes. And sensory details are so big in Marvel movies, whether it's the soundtrack, whether it's the other audio, the kaboom, When you're in a movie theater and all of those senses are on hyperdrive, that's how those movies are meant to be watched.
Absolutely. And I, of course, don't want to give any spoilers to
I appreciate that.
what's in the movie if you are a Marvel fan or a Spider-Man fan. But there are some special guests in there.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say who those
it.
special guests are, but you are going to get excited, especially if you have followed Spider-Man from the very beginning. There are some special, and I haven't seen any of like the trailers, so they might be in the trailer, and I just haven't seen it. Yeah. But I don't think they are. So if you're a Marvel fan out there and you love Spider-Man, you are going to love this particular episode.
I need to make myself go watch that then. The one other thing, we'll get into the show in just a second, but I do have one other question for you, and it can be just a yes or no answer. Are you a trailer person? Like, do you enjoy watching movie trailers before you go watch the movie?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the movie. So, like, this one, for example, I didn't care about watching the trailer because I don't watch the Spider-Mans or whatever, so I didn't feel the need to go watch the trailer beforehand because I was like, I'm not going to understand what's going on, you know? But if it's like, big Hunger Games fan. Gonna put it out there. Big Hunger Games fan. Whenever a new trailer came out for the Hunger Games, the next one, the sequel, I would watch it a million times. So I think it just depends on if I'm into the movie, on the interest level. Like Twilight did the same thing with Twilight as well. So what about you?
Hate trailers.
Okay.
I am a person that likes to be genuine. Like, I love surprises. And so I feel like trailers give me too much information. Yeah. And that's their job. You're trying to get people interested in watching the movies, and some do a better job than others. But like, especially like comedy movies, I love comedy movies, and I feel like if I already know the big punchlines from the trailers, what is the point of watching the movie? So I try to avoid, but I also did that like with books. I would pick them out solely based on their cover. I would never read the inside. I don't know. That's just, it's a weird thing about me, but I don't like knowing what I'm getting myself into. I just want to experience the roller coaster of it.
I think there's a lot of people, you're either one way or the other. You really like surprises, or you hate them and you don't want them.
Some people read the last pages of the books before they ever even do that. And I'm like,
I'll read the little description of what the book's about, but I will not go and spoil the whole thing for me because I'm not going to be interested.
No, people do that, and I'm like,
you're crazy.
Is that how you live your life? Like,
you're living life wrong.
Know everything before things like happen to you. I don't know. I love surprises. So anyway, all right, Malpal, hit the theme expo.
Pickle.
Yes, y'all, from the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas. It is Texas Football Today, a show on the internet. My name is Ashley Pickle. I'm the video director for Dave Campbell's Texas Football, a magazine, and TexasFootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or listening to us on the podcast version, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at the helm. She's the lady in control of this entire ship. It is Mallory Hartley. Malpal, how are you?
Doing well. Do you feel confident in putting me in charge of this entire ship? Because I don't know. I don't think Tepper would. But I feel good that you do.
If it's not you, it's me. So, yeah, I feel totally confident in you. Because if not,
all right, cool.
I'm having to sit there and do it. So, like, yeah. No, I feel more confident with you over there. We're running this thing darn stinking well, if I can say so myself. Everyone in the comments probably like, boo these
Worst
two.
Tepper. Get her out of here.
Today is Wednesday, January 5th, 323 days until Thanksgiving. January 5th, the birthday, and we were talking about movies earlier, the birthday of Bradley Cooper.
Ooh, good one.
Good birthday.
The Star movie, I can't think of it right now. Born as a Star, Star is Born.
Oh, yeah, A Star is Born.
Fantastic in that. I love that guy.
Yes, with the Lady Gaga song.
Yes. Yeah, that one.
Look at us, movie reviewers over here. Welcome to your movie review podcast.
We got to bring that back, the movie thing on Friday. We got to bring that back. That's fun.
Yeah, that was what we did, our monthly movie review. Anyway, yeah, here's us producing on the fly here. Bradley Cooper turning 46. Happy birthday, Mr. Cooper. This is episode 1307. And on today's show, my friends, it's the day that everyone waits for. Greg Powers from Next Level athlete joins us for This Week in Recruiting. It is pre-recorded. Powers had to come in earlier, so we will roll that. And then in the back half of the show, we did some of these last offseason that you might remember. Well, they're back again. We're doing our QB1 series. This one presented by GoRout, where we talk Tepper, actually, before he decided to have said child and abandon us for eternity and go back to his home planet. He caught up with some coaches and their quarterbacks to talk about, they use their GoRout schools, they use their technology, and just kind of how that shapes the mindset and how it helps them on the field. This is something that, as like a person who loves X's and O's, I think these are like the most interesting things in the world.
Oh yeah,
go inside the mind of a quarterback.
Yeah,
you know?
we did. I think we did about 5 of these this year, and I was the one who edited them. And I loved watching them because it's super interesting to get inside the mind of how it's cool because you get the coach and his quarterback on there, so it's cool to see the contrast between the two.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not just like the person that's telling him what to do all the time, and it's like, oh well, here's what I tell my quarterback to do. You gotta get both things. So anyway, super interesting interview. This one will be with Coach Brad LaPlante and the Hutto Hippos quarterback William Hammond from last season. So we are super excited to roll that out. But before we get to all of that, just explosive levels of fun, Malpal, do we have first 4 through the door?
We sure do. It was Daniel Agnew, Aaron Arbuckle, Rob Hadaway, and some guy named Graham Shank. I don't know who that is. That is my boyfriend, by the way. Hi, babe. How are
our
ya?
D3 superstar,
Woo!
Links. Let's go over there in Rhodes College in Memphis. Welcome in, friends. Glad everyone got to get a good Links out of him there. All right, Malpal, earlier today we caught up with our mountain, everyone's favorite, Grev Powers, with This Week in Recruiting to top some of the top prospects in this heavy, heavy portion of recruiting. We even talk about the All-America Bowl and then everything happened down in San Antonio. So without further ado, what everyone's been waiting for, here is This Week in Recruiting with Next Level Athletes, Greg Powers. I'm Ashley Pickle. That's Greg Powers, and this is This Week
in Recruiting.
It is This Week in Recruiting. We are pumped up on a Wednesday afternoon. And why is that? Well, it's, of course, because our favorite segment is brought to us by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express.
It's fresh, and you can taste the difference.
Boom. That
Nice.
literally needs to be their slogan. Like, if it's not...
It is.
Okay, good. I was fixing to say. I was like, if I feel like that's too good to just come up with off the top of your head. It is This Week in Recruiting, brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. We're joined by Next Level Athletes Greg Powers. How are you, Powers?
Great. Man, it's like peak football season still for recruiting. We had the Under Armour All-America game last week. We have the All-American Bowl coming up and setting the table for, to put a nice bow on the class of 2022 with National Signing Day in February.
How much do you look forward to these weeks of the year where it's kind of like you've seen everything that they can do on the field, but now they have a chance to kind of go and showcase their individual skills in these bowl games?
It's a lot different than it used to be. The early signing period has changed so much with not only from an evaluation standpoint, because your rankings kind of have to be buttoned up before then. It used to be like 2 huge weeks where you put the best players on the field with the other best players and really decide who is the best of the best, or who are the best prospects side by side in comparison. But I think that they take a much more laid back approach now, kind of like a bowl game for some top teams like that were in the college football playoff hunt that then didn't make the college football playoff.
Right.
I think that's kind of how it is for recruits now, and especially this year is a whole new era with the name, image, and likeness deals in effect. You really can't afford to take a chance to get hurt this late in the game, especially if you're an early enrollee, you're playing in that game, and then you're going on to college, and there's some big money deals on the table. Kind of changes the atmosphere a little bit as it relates to how hard these players are going to go. So now I think it's smart to take the approach of saying, well, these are some of the best players in the country, but I'm not going to determine their ranking based upon a bowl game that they're not going to be really that serious about, maybe.
Right. So it's almost, I feel like that's almost even more fun because you can get your stuff out of the way and then genuinely enjoy the play on the field rather than be sweating of going, oh my God, where am I going to rank this kid? Right. It's kind of like that's already behind you a little bit.
Well, and I'll give some plug to the San Antonio Sports All-Star Game that happens after the All-American Bowl this weekend on Saturday inside the Alamo Dome. I love that game because it brings the best players in San Antonio together on one field. And every time I've attended it, the atmosphere has been great because you have a big part of the crowd that stays after the All-American Bowl. And it's a real football game with real football rules. And everybody plays extremely hard.
That's
and
awesome.
To me, that's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed covering that game in recent years just because of the effort that all the players put forth. And it's been a really close and good competitive game almost every single year. So that's a fun game. If you're a Texas high school football fan in San Antonio, then you should buy a ticket and go out and watch both games on Saturday.
Never too much football around these parts. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. This week in recruiting, we'll start off with our prospect on the rise. This one, a 2024 cornerback out of Denton Guyer, Eli Bowen, and you might recognize that name because his brother Peyton Bowen committed to Notre Dame this week. Eli is the younger brother, a sophomore, and he had quite the season for Denton Guyer to lead them to that state championship game.
He is always around the football, and it seems like every time that you know that you're going out to watch Denton Guyer, Eli Bowen is making a big play. As a matter of fact, he had 10 interceptions. He housed 3 of them after that, so he's like a ball hawk. He's always around the football. 5'9", 165. He has great technique. He's able to hang in a receiver's hip pocket, and that allows him to be in the position to make these type of plays. If a quarterback makes a little bit of a mistake, Bowen is going to take advantage of it. So far, he has 2 early offers, one from Colorado and one from LSU, but this is a guy who I'm really keeping an eye on throughout the spring evaluation period because of his skill set. His brother, who's committed to Notre Dame, is a 4-star in the class of 2023, one of, if not the top safety in Texas high school football. I think this is a guy who's really going to blow up. He's probably going to end up being a 15 offer, 25 offer type of kid by the time it's all said and done. And I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of people who are not only going to recruit Peyton throughout the course of this season, the next year, but they're also going to be recruiting Eli, trying to get a 2-for-1 deal.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of those things, too. I mean, 10 interceptions at a sophomore, spectacular.
Right.
But then you always wonder with the little brothers if, like, they tend to, not always, but I feel like they tend to be, a little bit better because, one, they're trying to outplay older brother, and then, 2, they grew up being right there and being able to watch older brother do that, so they kind of, you learn the mistakes early.
Notre Dame, offer the brother.
Get a little 2 for there on the Bowen brothers. Again, that was our prospect on the rise. Denton Guyer, 2024 cornerback. 2024, my lord.
It's crazy, isn't it?
2024 cornerback Eli Bowen. Now up next, let's head over to our commit of the week. This one, we talked about him a little bit earlier this week because it needed to go in our headlines, obviously, but you have the way better insight here. Cypress Park outside linebacker Harold Perkins announced his commitment to Texas A&M at that Under Armour All-America Bowl that we were talking about earlier. A DCTF 4-star, #1 outside linebacker in the state. This was one of those that you put out the article of like the 7 top prospects we were waiting to still sign. What a pickup to add to that #1 recruiting class by Texas A&M.
And he is like the perfect new age style linebacker. As a matter of fact, he flipped over and played a lot of running back this year, so he was a 2-way standout at Cypress Park. But 6'2", 200 pounds, 6'1", 200 pounds, right in that range. He's a very athletic linebacker who will lay the wood, but also has the ability to hang tight in coverage and play multiple roles, at that second level in a defense. I really like this pickup for Texas A&M. As a matter of fact, we'll see how this plays out, and I'm not saying that let's say it like this. There's a good chance I could be wrong. I don't like to say that. It just sounds
it doesn't feel good coming off the tongue right there.
I think he's a 5-star or consensus 5-star like on all the other recruiting sites. If you're a DCTF 5-star, you're ranked within the top 5. That's our criteria for being a 5-star. Harold Perkins is number 6. And this has been like a constant debate I've had with all of my recruiting buddies on the trail this year. Is they're like, Greg, you're missing the game on Harold Perkins. And I'm like, well, I mean, I love Harold Perkins, but there's only 5 5-stars. What can I do? All the other guys are really good too. So it's one of these cases where I hope that I don't look back on it and say, man, Greg, everybody told you Harold Perkins should have been a 5-star, and you just didn't move him up high enough to make it happen. But with all that being said, he has 5-star talent.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Well, and it's funny to watch this Hutto film because, like you said, we know him as the outside linebacker, the star, the number one, and all of them has been his running back plays. And he looks like a stinking, like he's been doing that forever.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, look right there. Even the hands on the catch. Like, this guy is insane just athletically.
He is a beast, and I have to point out that with the commitment of Harold Perkins, it looks like that Texas A&M has a chance to end up signing when the dust settles and the ink dries on, the final national signing day, what could be the number one recruiting class of all time in the history of
they
internet
have
recruiting
6
era.
5-stars, don't they?
Yeah, well, and they also have 7 out of the top 10 high school prospects in the DCTF top 10.
Goodness
So it
gracious.
is a monster class. They've got everyone from 6 through 10 is going to Texas A&M, and then a couple more to boot. So, I mean, what they've done on the recruiting trail this year is pretty sick, and I think that it's setting the table for a huge run there in the SEC. And what better timing with the SEC expansion coming, and when that happens, they're going to have these guys up front on the defensive line because outside of the state, they signed the number one defensive lineman in the country and another 5-star from Florida.
Good Lord.
So, I mean, they really have reloaded in the trenches, and then around that they've put guys like Harold Perkins and Connor Wigman and Cam Dewberry and Bryce Anderson, or you know what I mean? Like
that list is just insane.
Evan Stewart.
Yeah. How could you forget?
So, I mean, Texas A&M's recruiting class is pretty sick.
What? Yeah, something. Jimbo Fisher's got something down there in the water in College Station that's getting all those top recruits. So again, that was our underclassman. No, scratch that. That was our commit of the week. Cypress Park outside linebacker Harold Perkins commits at the All-American Bowl. This is This Week in Recruiting. We're talking with Next Level Athletes. Greg Powers, get involved in the conversation. #TF today. Let's matriculate on to our underclassman of the week. This one, 2023 wide receiver out of Fort Bend Marshall, Jacoby Banks. And how about this? I got to give Malpal some credit here because yesterday we did a little bowl recap talking about the bowl games, and obviously Houston getting a huge win over Auburn, and she was like, man, they're heading into the Big 12. This has got to create some momentum going down there and taking down an SEC opponent. Well, there you go. Jacoby Banks, a prime example there. He picks Houston over Texas A&M, Marshall, and Pittsburgh. The Cougs, they're cooking too.
Yeah, and I really like what they did in their 2022 recruiting class. They have only signed 10 players in that class, but some names that, kind of topped the list are Matthew Golden, a one-time TCU commit, Demetrius Hunter, a one-time Oklahoma commit, C.J. Nelson, a one-time TCU commit, and Traylon Payne, who's one of the top linebackers in the state of Texas, from Converse Judson. So they really did a good job not only getting good high school talent, but I think that they'll be a heavy factor in the transfer portal as well, because you mentioned off the top that they're going to be moving to the Big 12. They have a really strong season this year. Let's throw this in. Their basketball team is really good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good things going on around UH right now, and they've started to get on a little bit of a roll in recruiting, and Jacoby Banks is one of these guys who has the skill set to play, a number of different positions. As a matter of fact, he plays quarterback for Fort Bend Marshall, and he's extremely, extremely athletic. I think that his highest upside once he, settles in at one position in college is going to be wide receiver. And he plays much bigger than his listed attributes. He's listed at 5'10", 170, but even watching these highlights, you can see he just looks a little bit bigger than that. I don't know that some guys just have that aura about them or the ability
confidence
to
almost.
Yeah, I mean, does he not look like he's 6 foot,
Yeah.
6'1", just watching the highlights? That's how he plays. He plays bigger, and he has a little bit of burst of speed that I think that really makes him special. Once he gets a little bit of a crease, he's able to take advantage. Slot wide receiver, get him some touches, get him some holes, and I think he's going to make big plays in the Dana Holgerson offense.
He's got some really long strides. That might be what makes him look like his length is extended a little bit.
I agree with
there.
you. I mean, he's just long for a 5'10" guy.
All right, that is our underclassman of the week. Fort Bend Marshall wide receiver Jacoby Banks committed to Houston. Staying home down there in H-Town. Hold it down. Finally, let's talk about our recruit of the week. This one, a 2022 cornerback out of those South Oak Cliff Golden Bears. How about that for a state championship? Kyron Chambers, you might have seen him there. He's a DCTF 3-star, rated the 96th prospect in the DCTF Hot 100. He's committed to TCU, and this is just me being transparent and not knowing. Was he committed there in the Gary Patterson era, or is this a classic Rashad Samples coming in and knowing that local DFW talent?
It is. It's after the coaching change, Kyron Chambers was committed to Arizona, and he made the switch to TCU after the coaching change there. Credit to Paul Gonzalez as well, who had a heavy factor in that recruitment. Chambers is one of these guys who really flourished after making a move from running back to the defensive secondary. I think he played running back his junior year, flipped over and completely kind of played defense this year. I think he got some touches on offense, but his home's going to be in the defensive secondary in college. He played a lot of safety for South Oak Cliff, and he's a guy who has the speed to close quickly, make big plays, and has kind of a nose for the football as well. That secondary at SOC is flat out spectacular. And all but Chambers, I think, are coming back next season. But he was kind of one of the leaders of that group. His senior leadership was apparent in the state championship run. TCU saw what they obviously loved in his game, extended him a scholarship offer. He committed. I think he has the skills to play corner. I think I like him there. And they have two great corners there at SOC in 2023 prospects, Javon Thomas and Malik Muhammad, who do man the island for them. But as he translates his game into college, I think that he has the skill set to play corner, and I like his ability also at safety. So he's a versatile prospect in the defensive secondary who can play multiple positions. He could probably even play nickelback if you needed him to play there. He's not afraid to come down into the box and make a tackle, and these are all the reasons why the All-American Bowl added him to the roster this week.
Oh, absolutely.
They had some guys who tested positive for COVID, weren't able to play in the game, and that opened up an opportunity for Kyron Chambers, and he's going to take advantage of it, and I think he's a guy who might catch some national attention if he can make a big play in the game.
You mentioned him possibly being able to handle his own at corner there. Do you think that him transitioning over from the running back position really helped with that? Because that's a big part of playing corner, is needing to be able to be quick on your feet.
Well, and that actually, now that you say that, plays a heavy factor in why I think he can play corner, because reviewing his running back tape showed that he had the change of direction that I think is necessary to be able to make that transition a successful one. And to me, he just is able to get in and out of his break so quickly. That's something I think that translates to corner. He's 6', 195, so he also has the size that you can throw out there and he can be a guy who can lock down a Nicholas Anderson at OU. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know OU's going to the SEC. That's going to take a while to get used to.
But for word's sake,
right.
There you go.
You can go and match up against a 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver, and you're not probably going to worry about him from having a huge size disadvantage. And that's what I like about him out there on the island.
Someone who, man, that was just a
Someone
bad
who you'll
setup.
never leave on the island.
Someone who you'll never leave on the island. He is our Greg Powers. You can follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. You can follow Next Level Athlete at Next Level D1. Powers, thank you for not only coming in today, but for the little assist there at the end.
I'm probably going to never hear the end of that one.
Maybe we will leave it on an island. There. Oh, that's me.
Hi.
I was watching,
Cut.
waiting for finger guns. I did finger guns at the end, which was
I thought I put it in there, but I guess I did not.
troubling. That's like a normal go-to like, I feel like I need to reevaluate my life there a little bit. If like one of my first reactions is like,
If you want to see
Not
the
good.
finger guns that she did, they were great, by the way. It'll be on YouTube, so we'll put it on the YouTube version.
they were
so.
good finger. I
They
guess if
were
you're gonna
good
do
finger guns.
finger guns, like
They got to be elite.
go all in.
Yeah.
There he is, Greg Powers, talking with us for this week in recruiting, taking a look at some of the top prospects in the state. And like you said, this is prime recruiting season, and it is cool to see how, I guess, the times have changed a little bit, and they can kind of enjoy these camps a little bit more. But obviously, that San Antonio series is going down this weekend. A lot of our guys, our buddies from 24/7, I know, are down there. Gabe Brooks and I think Nick Harris is down there.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure we'll have a lot of recruiting news coming out very soon, because I think National Signing Day is February
15th, I want to say, but
beginning
I
of
could be
February,
wrong.
something like that. So I'm sure leading up to that, we'll have a bunch of recruiting news about guys who haven't committed yet or already have, and so just be on the lookout.
Yeah,
for
you
all
kind of
that.
get the big 1-2 punch of realignment day and then right
Recruiting.
into National Signing Day, which is obviously way less than what it used to be with the early signing period. But It's one
Still,
of
some
those
guys
things.
like to wait until then, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and especially like going super far in the weeds, and we'll get to the next segment in just a second. But like when COVID hit too, that did kind of put a buffer on this a little bit. Of a lot of people last year hadn't been able to really go out and do those official visits and see that.
Yeah.
And once it finally opened up, they needed that extra time to be able to make their decision. So that seems
Right.
to be heading back into the direction that we were heading in, where that's not as much of a factor. But some of these big-time recruits, I mean, you're taking official visits, and you want to go see the best of the best.
Right.
So maybe it is good to be patient. I don't really know why you would rush,
Yeah.
unless a lot of kids now trying to get there early and graduate in December and go in January. But if that's not on your academic trek, then there's really no point to commit until then. So
Right. I was thinking about that the other day. I don't remember who I was looking at, but I was like, I feel like there's just, I follow this account on Twitter, and it's called NCAA Transfer Portal, and I'm just looking at it, I'm like, I feel like there's a ton of guys. I mean,
Transfer portal's
you'll see
big.
ton of people entering the transfer portal each day, and I'm like, that's got to have some kind of a role. COVID's got to play some kind of a role in that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of guys didn't get the official visits they wanted to last year because of COVID,
Right.
and they're seeing like, oh, maybe I'm not such a good fit for this school. Maybe I want to go somewhere else. But I think that's probably why.
Yeah, fifth year of eligibility last year threw a lot into it. So anyway, movers and shakers, as always, Greg Powers will be there to cover it all for us. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon talking football in the Lone Star State. We hope you will consider becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com. And look, I finally did what I've been saying I was going to do all week. We switched it out.
Woo!
How about that? Physical copy. Most of you who are... God, that looks good. I'm getting hungry.
Me too.
Most of you who are subscribers should already have this by now, but it is our 2021-2022 expert breakdown, our Rising magazine. It's a recruiting guide that, I mean, just has pages and pages on recruits. So it's super awesome. Denver Harris on the cover there. It's the first time we're showing it, so I know a lot of you have it, but very, very cool. It smells like a new magazine, which is always great. Powers put a lot of work into that. So if you haven't become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber and you would like that beautiful magazine mailed directly to you, texasfootball.com/subscribe to become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. All right, Malpal, one more thing left on the agenda. A couple weeks back, Tepper continued our QB1 series by GoRout to take a look at some of the top quarterback prospects in the state, talk with them and their head coaches, and see how they use GoRout and kind of go in the mind of the quarterback. We were talking about it earlier. As an X's and O's person, I think this is very, very interesting. In this one, we're going to talk to the head coach of the Hutto Hippos, Coach Brad LaPlante, and his quarterback from last year, William Hammond, as they talk with Tepper on our QB1 series presented by GoRout.
We're taking an opportunity to talk with some of our favorite coaches across the state and their quarterbacks in the series called QB1, presented by our friends at GoRout. And today we are joined by the head coach of the Hutto Hippos, Coach Brad LaPlante, and his QB1, Will Hammond. Guys, how are you?
Been a great day. Thanks for having us on.
Absolutely. Appreciate your time. Coach LaPlante, you're a guy who, over the course of your career there at Hutto, and then before you got to Hutto, you've coached some really good quarterbacks. Sure seems like you got another one sitting to your right. What is it about your QB1, Will Hammond, that sets him apart, that makes him special?
I've been very fortunate with us, been at the junior college level, the high school level, to have a lot of good ones. And, Will's going to stack up by the time his, career ends at Hutto. He'll stack up very well with all those. But it starts with the personality. You can't be a good quarterback or a great one down the road without that personality, leadership, work ethic, just the love of the game, love of your teammates, wanting to be better every single day, take coaching. I mean, the list could go on about all the good things that I could, say about Will, knowing him since middle school, and everything has just kept on progressing year by year now. So he's done a great job for himself and for his team.
Will, Coach mentions that kind of growth. From your perspective, where do you feel like you've grown the most as a quarterback?
I think recently, definitely on the mental side, just developing with my quarterback coach and him teaching me everything, and then learning on my reads and just being able to perform on the field.
Coach, we're presented by our friends at GoRout. I know you've been a guy who has used this system for a while. What is it about GoRout? How does it make your practices more effective and efficient?
Well, probably the biggest three ways we can do it is, number one, for me as a coach, I don't have to go stand in the huddle, hold up cards, see what the play is, tell all 8 kids what to do. I can look on my phone, know what play is, and know, okay, this one's going to be tough for the safety. Let's how he reacts to reading these 2 routes. Just for us as a coaching staff to get ahead is huge. The time in between each plays is so minimal. We get so many more plays out during the course of a practice. And then when you're talking about our student athletes, for them to be able to go line up as a Z receiver or a Sam backer or whatever it is, and look and know what to do right there without having to jog 15 extra yards there to the huddle, jog back, wait for a coach to explain. I mean, those are 3 huge areas that we've gained an advantage over our competition who might not be using the GoRout system.
Will, I want to ask you a little bit about, the first year as a starter. You're thrust into the starting role. It can be pretty fast for a lot of guys up there at the varsity level. What do you feel like you gained over the course of the season? What do you maybe know now about playing varsity high school football in Texas that you didn't know at the beginning of the season?
I think gaining a lot of experience throughout the year and just getting more comfortable with everything, being able to check plays at the line and understand defenses has definitely come a long way in my game.
Coach, I know you and I have talked about this privately before, but about the growth in this Hutto program and the way when you took over this program, where it was and where it is now. What do you think is the biggest difference now that you're a veteran coach there with the Hippos? What do you think is the biggest difference between the program that you inherited and the program that you've got right now?
Well, even taking over for Coach Van Meter, a lot of our systems are still in place. So it's not like we had to make, a lot of changes. Even our position coaches put tweaks on their teaching and their buzzword, no different than I want to put some tweaks on it as a program as a whole. But, I think the biggest thing that we are doing and are continuing to do is just have a vertically aligned system from our youth football association to our middle schools all the way up here. So whether it's a coverage or a pass play, whatever it is, all those kids can learn a playbook faster and be more successful, because let's face it, a confused player is a slow player. So the less confusion we have and keep on getting those kids reps and reps and reps so they can play fast, they can play smart, physical, be tough, we can be more successful. And as we've moved up to 6A, there has to be more of that. And of course, we need to, still catch up maybe in the weight room a little bit. When you go against the likes of, Temple and College Station and Austin Westlake and some of the dimensions that you're lined up against those good football teams, being faster, being more physical, be precise with your blocking, be a better tackler, all those things come into play.
Now, Will, you're just a sophomore. I know you've already impressed at such a young age, but from your perspective, what's that next step? What are you going to be working on in the off season? What are you going to be working on going forward to really go from being a darn good quarterback to an elite one?
Definitely leadership and just being able to lead the team and growing my physical self, so I'll be able to take more hits in the games and just be able to thrive in those environments.
They're the Hutto Hippos, head coach Brad LaPlante and his QB1 Will Hammond. Guys, appreciate your time. Congratulations on a great season, and looking forward to seeing what you guys do down the road.
Thanks, Tab.
Thank you.
Coach LaPlante with the finger gun.
Woo!
My guy.
He is cut from the same cloth as us, I think. He knows how to do them right.
Let's go. So there it is, our GoRout, or our QB1 series presented by GoRout. We talked with Coach LaPlante of Hutto and his quarterback, Will Hammond, and that's always, again, always super interesting. And Coach LaPlante's a guy who absolutely knows his football. Obviously, that sounds dumb because he's a head football coach, but he even did, he hopped on and did some color commentary for us in the playoffs this season on Texan Live. So it's always cool he's a guy that you can absolutely pick his brain. And he'll be honest with you.
He'll tell you.
Yeah, and
know?
he's a very, very good teacher. So it's always a pleasure to be able to talk with him. And obviously, Will's a great kid there, and we're always rooting for his success. So thank you to them for joining us for our QB1 series presented by GoRout.
I think they just got their stadium finished too. They'd been struggling with getting their stadium done because of COVID and because we had a bunch of rain last year
and
and stuff.
But freeze, man, that just seemed like those poor Hippos, man, they got pushed back and pushed back.
Yeah,
I mean, normal construction stuff too never helps.
No.
But hoping that's looking like, I'm sure it'll be a beautiful facility when they finally get to kick off a game there, and very well deserved. So excited for the Hippos down there. And now we head over to Malpal at the helm for America's favorite segment, final thoughts.
Woo! This is America's favorite segment, maybe.
It is.
Yeah.
It should be.
It should be. Let's see. We will do a Republic of Football podcast today. We're probably going to record around 2:30, so if you still have some questions about college football, throw in some Texas high school if you want to, go ahead and go to our Twitter. It's at DCTFCFB and respond to our graphic. I'll go ahead and quote it again so it'll be at the top of our timeline. But yeah, any question that you got, we're going to take the second half of the podcast and just answer any questions that you guys have. It doesn't just have to be FBS. I got some about Sam Houston State as well. So whatever is on your mind, we will answer it.
Love a good mailbag, man. You're hitting up 2 podcasts today.
I am.
The podcasting queen over there.
I'm talking a lot today.
That's
That's what I do for a living.
That's what I'm employed to do. Speaking of podcasts, since we're talking about this, also want to push y'all to go listen to Ish and Matthew Bruni do our Texas 24 podcast, which is our basketball podcast, and that thing is booming. Talk about a great pair. They are so incredibly fun to listen to now that football is quote unquote over. It's never over around these parts, but we are in like prime basketball season. Go ahead and check out Texas 24 because those two are a good time to listen to. And if you need your Ish fix, there you go. Yeah,
he's on Republic of Football too, so you will definitely get your Ish fix. That's a lot of Ish, but that's good. We like a lot of Ish.
Do we?
Sometimes.
That'll do it for us. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Make sure to like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. Subscribe to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Dave Campbell's TF. And of course, follow us on Twitter at DCTF. And then there's TexasFootball.com, which is the host of everything that we do around these parts. So thank you again to Coach Brad LaPlante and his quarterback, Will Hammond. For Mallory Hartley, I am Grev, thanks for showing up, Grev. That's Mallory. For Mallory Hartley, I'm Ashley Pickle. Vince Young, please come get your Player of the Year trophies. We will see you tomorrow for the final episode of the week of Texas Football Today.